So if I was to go back 18 months and give my previous self, who was starting off on his 5.5 stone weight loss journey, advice on the steps that he needed to take to get to exactly where I am today, this is exactly what I would do. Today in this video, I'm going to be taking you over the steps that I would recommend that you take to be able to get started on your fat loss journey and finally achieve the fat loss results that you've always wanted as well. And you may be sat there thinking, Mark, how can you give me this advice as well? And especially if you're new around here, this is exactly why I can give you this advice in the first place. Because straight away, this is not just something that I've achieved myself. These aren't just the steps that I've took on my own weight loss journey. These are the steps that I've implemented. For example, for my client Rachel that you see on screen right here, already done 58 kilo of body fat down for good. Started at 158 kilo and is now about to break into the 99 kilos, nearly a 10 stone weight loss. My own self, this is a normal photo without the photo shoot tan, without the photo shoot tan, without the pump. On the left hand side, 18 months ago, weighed 18.5 stone. Right the way down to what you can see here on the right hand side, 5.5 stone lighter as well. So we could keep going with this. Gemma, of course, 42 kg down. Of course, this is the photo that I was talking about with the tan, with the pump. Abby right here, 30 kg of body fat down for good and completely transformed her life. We even take Ahmed here as well. Same thing here, over 20 plus kg down of body fat within this period of time and completely transforming his shape, not just for his life and not just transforming his confidence for him, but also his boy and his entire family as well. We take Georgina here as well, who's absolutely killing their current fat loss transformation. And these are the entire steps that we've took with every single one of these guys, including myself. So what I'm going to be talking you through today is the exact steps that I would recommend you take, especially if you are looking at getting started on your weight loss journey. So let's waste no time and let's get ourselves straight into this. So we are going to be taking a few notes today and we're going to be talking over the exact steps that I'd recommend that you take. So first things first, that I'd always recommend for anyone. Number one is establish what your why is. So first of all, I apologize for any terrible spelling or writing within this video, but establish what your why is. This is super, super important, okay? So a lot of people will tell me, come to me and say, Mark, I want to lose weight. Right, okay, that's the goal. You want to lose weight. Fantastic. Lose weight, right? Well, it's important to find out, why do you want to lose weight? What's the reason behind that? Why do you want to lose weight? Because let me tell you something, losing weight and just with that as a sole prior goal is not going to get you out of bed in the morning. It's not going to help you be able to push and get your step count done or be able to adhere to your actual diet or adhere to your training plan as well. It's not going to be something that allows you to establish it and stick to it long term. So you need to really, before you actually get started, understand why you're doing this in the first place, A, but B, get really, really deep with yourself as well. So, for myself, losing weight was a big thing, but why did I want to lose weight? Well, I wanted to increase my confidence. I had no confidence at all in day-to-day life in showing up for my own clients. It was something I never ever had, even within relationships with family, friends and stuff like that. I had a really, really terrible confidence. Even showing up in front of a camera, it was not doable that much at that period of time. I wanted to be leading by example. As a coach myself, it's something I really, really do preach is, as a coach, you should be leading an example to your clients. You should be a leading example that they can look up to for motivation, be able to look and guide the way. This is super, super important. And it was to me as well, not that period of time in my life. That's something I wasn't doing. So that was another big why for me. But if I extend on top of this as well, I hated looking at myself, which is really deep. Hated looking at myself. Hated looking at myself. I'm just going to keep it nice and short and sweet. Hated picking and pulling on my clothes daily. This is something I struggle with every single day, and you may be struggling with it yourself. This weather that you're seeing right now, really hot, really warm. I was always wearing baggy hoodies, baggy clothing all the time, like just constantly just to hide what was underneath. I was wearing baggy oversized t-shirts. I probably kept representing business because I just could not stop buying clothes just to try and hide what was underneath. So it's really important that you be able to sit down and establish your exact why you're gonna be doing this and why you're gonna start off in this journey in the first place. Because when motivation dips, reverting back to this is always going to be super important. So step number two, the second step that I would take within this is, of course, working out what your calorie deficit is going to be. Okay, so straight away with this, one thing that I'd always recommend is starting a little bit higher with your calories and working it down over time as well. Because obviously the more you drop in body fat, of course, the lower your calories you're going to get as well. So what I would do for this is actually I would go online and I'd go to a calorie calculating website. I'm just going to up on the screen at the moment for yourself. And this is calculator.net. So this is a calorie calculator for yourself that you can access, anyone can access as well. And this is probably one of the most accurate ones out there as well. So for example, if we were to go to metrics, right, and obviously let's put myself in here, for instance, okay? So 23, male, around, I was going to say 6 foot, but unfortunately I'm not 6 foot, 178 centimeters, and kilo at the moment is around 84 kilo. It's about 84 point. And I currently train at the moment, I'd say very intensely, because my steps are currently around 12 to 15,000 per day, and I'm training 5 to 6 times per week. So I'd go very active at the moment. So if I calculate this, as you'll be able to see, it's going to give me a couple of options. Maintain weight, mild weight loss, which is 0.25 kilo, 0.5 kilo, 2,600 calories, and extreme weight loss of 2,100 calories as well. So this is really important to establish. We want to be understanding exactly where we're going to go with this, like how do we want to be as well, because something to just bear in mind as well. We're going to flip back to the notes as well that we're going to be taking now. Aggressive isn't always isn't put your seat back in. Straight away, it isn't always the answer. People sit there and think, yeah, let's go aggressive diet, yeah, let's get it done fast, but this is going to lead to a lot of things. If you're not very experienced, it's going to cause you to rebound slightly. So it's going to cause you to feel deprived of food and not actually enjoy it. No enjoyment, which is a big thing. No enjoyment. And most importantly, it's not going to be it's not going to be sustainable in the slightest. Let me just see if I can move this about. Yeah, cool. No enjoyment. So there's not going to be any flexibility or enjoyment within this. So if we just flick back to this nice and fast, and we go back to the calorie calculator that we see right here. So if you were to go to that extreme weight loss, which as you can see here on screen is 2,100, you maybe feel really deprived of food. And once you've been doing this, and something I'd recommend is not doing an extreme weight loss for longer than 8 to 10 weeks. But something I'd probably recommend more than anything is trying to lose anywhere between 0.5% to 1% of your body weight per week. So of course, if you are, let's just flick back to the notes. So if you are currently 80 kg, 1% of your body weight per week is 0.8 kg, which is around £2 loss per week. Okay, so that's around 1%. Of course, 0.5% is 0.4 kg. So what I've established here as well straight away is, like, you know, we actually went back to that screen there. We just went back to that website and we went, okay, 0.5 kilo per week is, you know, that's the midpoint for yourself. Let's say you're in the 80 kgs. That's exactly the midpoint for yourself as well. I would always start at like a comfortable rate of loss like this and be able to taper calories down over time as well. So you may be wondering what happens if like weight loss hits a stall, and obviously once we start to drop body fat. Well, keep it nice and simple. If you're a female and you start to see a plateau on your weight loss journey, you want to be reducing your calories by around 60 to 120, okay, if you're a female. So when I say when your weight loss plateaus, that's if you see a plateau over 7 to 14 days, not just because the weight shot up in one day. That does not mean that, okay? So if you are a male, it's anywhere between 100 and 200 calories, okay? So anywhere between 100 200 calories if you are a male. And as I mentioned there as well, what you want to be doing is taking your average weight for the week. So taking a weigh-in daily. So daily weigh-ins. So let me just pop that there. Daily weigh-ins. And what this is going to allow you to do is actually see what your average body weight is for the week. It's really important that you actually work off your average body weight instead of what your day-to-day body weight is. So how we do that is we take our weigh-in every single day, of course, as I mentioned. We add them together. So we add all the weigh-ins together. And then at the end of the week, you'll be left with 7 individual weigh-ins. You'll then divide that number by 7. And that will then give you what your average weight is for that week. So what you want to be doing is monitoring that on a week-by-week basis, not just jumping to conclusions just because the scales have fluctuated. You want to be monitoring what that average weight is for that week, because if your average weight has stayed the same and you've adhered to plan, then potentially I'd look at reducing the calories, as I say here, 60 to 120 if you're a female, 100 to 200 if you are a male as well. So an average weight is super important as well. Don't just be weighing in once per week and then reducing your calories. Otherwise, before you know it, your calories will be on the floor, your body will adapt, and it's going to be a lot harder to lose weight. So that's why I'd always recommend anywhere between a sort of 200 to 300 calorie deficit to start, okay? So that's where I'd recommend starting. Basically there, let's just add the I in there. So perfect. So that's where you want to be starting, anywhere between a 200 to 300 calorie deficit as well. This is going to allow it to be, you're not going to be experiencing too much hunger straight away, and it's going to be nice and progressive and something that you'll probably be able to implement some social outings in as well. And yes, it may take a little bit longer, but this is going to be more sustainable for a lot of people as well. And if we flip back to this as well, as you'll be able to see, from like maintenance calories, we're currently down there around like sort of 3 to 500, 3 to 400 as well. So like I said, that's something that you can eventually move down to in the future as well. As you can see, if you wanted to move more towards like that aggressiveness and you wanted to be moving a little bit faster with your weight loss, then potentially more around the 400 to 500 mark as well. So it all depends on yourself individually as well. Someone that is brand new to dieting, brand new to tracking your food, I'll definitely be working off 200 to 300. If you're someone that's more experienced and you know that you can diet for a little bit more aggressive long term, feel free to go with the 400 to 500 as well. So straight away, if we go to number 3, it's tracking your calories. Straight away, track your calories. So now we've established what our calorie number is. Track your calories. This is the most scientifically proven thing to help you be able to stick to your, not so much stick to obviously your calorie deficit, but of course be able to make sure you are in a calorie deficit. If you're just eating good, eating healthy, I'm just going to remind you, it is not enough, okay? And this is a trap that I fell into for so long. I used to sit there and think, well, I'm eating healthy, I'm eating good. It's not so much about the foods that you're consuming. Yes, that matters when it comes down to your energy levels, etc., your fullness, your protein, your carbohydrates, and your fats. They all benefit your body in a different way. However, if you're just basically spending the entire day just eating basically what you require as healthy, you can still be eating over your calories for the day as well. And it's an analogy I'll always use. If you had £10 left in your bank account, you'd never go and fill your car up without looking at how much you're putting into it as well. You wouldn't go and put yourself in your overdraft if you only had £10 left in your bank account as well to fill up your car. You wouldn't do that. So it's the exact same when it comes down to your body as well. So it's really important. So a few apps that I'd recommend here for this: MyFitnessPal, which is normally the go-to one for a lot of people. But for myself, I actually use an app called NutriCheck, which I just think is a little bit more of a easily more accessible and user-friendly app, especially if you're new to tracking your food. Okay, so tracking your food is something that's massively important because it's actually going to be able to help us guarantee that we are staying within a deficit. But just a few things to link on top of tracking your calories: weighing your food as well, weighing your food out, because what you may sit there and think is a small portion, when you weigh out, can be pretty high. So weighing your food out is going to be really, really important as well. Okay, weighing your food out is a big one. And then on top of that as well, obviously once you've actually focused on tracking your food and weighing your food to the specifics as well, another little bit of a golden nugget that I find for a lot of people works really, really well. Works really well for myself, always works well for my own clients, is tracking in advance. So tracking your food in advance. So this is something that I do on a day-to-day basis as well. I track my food the day before. So I take 5 minutes of my evening the day before just to track my food in advance. And don't be afraid of repeating the same food. Sometimes, and I heard something the other day, and it's so true. When you were a kid, you had a packed lunch or you had a lunchbox, right? And your mum or dad put a sandwich in there, chocolate bar or pack of crisp and a little bit of fruit. You'd eat the same thing every day, but let's be honest, we used to put the fruit in the bin, right? But like, we'd go and eat the same food every day. But now, because of social media, you get so caught up in so many recipes, so many different things, that you're always getting this buzz to try new things, which I get and I understand, but try and keep it simple. Don't overcomplicate it and track your food in advance. It makes it 10 times easier to be going into the day ahead and knowing what you're having, the amount of food that you need to be having, and it makes it 10 times easier to adhere to your actual diet as well. And of course, the one that we can adhere to long term is going to be the best one for us all around as well. So obviously, running over just a little bit of an overview so far: establish your why, calorie deficits, figure out what your calorie deficit is using the calculator.net. Nice and simple, something that you can use as well. And then of course we revert back to notes: track your calories using MyFitnessPal, NutriCheck, weighing food out, and of course tracking in advance as well. So there's 2 more that I'd add on top of this. Number 4, I think we're on to number 4 here as well, is step count. So daily movement, step count. So what you see on social media all the time, 10,000 steps is a magical number. No, it is not a magical number. This was a number that was used in a scientific study years ago. It's not a magic number, okay? So straight away, what you want to be doing before anything else is finding out what your current daily average is. So if I actually flick over to my phone, right, and I actually have a little bit of a look at what my daily average is at the moment, mine is pretty high because of currently I'm on a mini cut myself. So my walk average over the last 7 days being 19,733. You're probably sat there thinking, Mark, have you got a life? I do 3 1-hour walks a day, so it's a lot at the moment, but sometimes, of course, this is where it built up from. When I started my journey, 6,000 steps was where I started with. So what you'd be looking at is going to your phone, going to your smartwatch, figuring out, first of all, what your average steps are. So let's say your average steps are 6,000 per day, right? So let's say 6,000 is the current average for the day. What I would recommend yourself doing as well is, first of all, from where your average steps are, is increase by 2,000. First things first, I'd do. So straight away, I'd establish a increase in 2,000 from what your current average steps are on a daily basis. So this is bringing it up to 8,000. And then from there, what I would then focus on is spending an entire week adhering to that 8,000 step count, okay? So adhering to that step count. And then the following week, increase that by 1,000. So following week, increase to 1,000. Increase by 1,000, sorry. So increase that by 1,000 and keep doing that until you hit a point where you realize, okay, I physically cannot fit no more within my time within the day as well. You know, you want to get to that point where it's like you've got a good routine, but the steps are pushing you to get them done, but they're not consuming your entire life, okay? Like, if you're moving, it's a completely different story, but if you're working towards like a specific date, like photo shoot, etc., yes, potentially you may increase them a little bit more, but, you know, 10,000 steps is normally the number a lot of people can tend to do on a day-to-day basis, like 8 to 10,000. So increase these by 1,000 weekly until you hit a point that you know is like a really, really good point for your day as well. It's not over-consuming your life, but it's something that you can fit in there as well. Because just a little bit of an excess point that I want to add on top of this as well. A lot of people neglect the step count, but on average, so they say like the average female is around 70 to 75 kilo in the UK. The average male is around 75 kilo in the UK, 75 to 80. The average female and male in the UK as well, obviously in regards to what they say, let me just put that in connotations and quotes, is they will burn around 500 calories per 10,000 steps. So as you can see, so I've just put 10x, 10,000. Let me rub that out. They basically burn per 10,000 steps, per 10k steps, okay? So of course that is different for every single individual person for so many different reasons, but that is the average of what people, what scientific studies have shown is 10,000 steps will burn you around 500 calories per day. So of course if you take that higher, you will burn more, etc. But this is something that people neglect. People sit there and think they need to be doing endless hours of cardio in the gym, non-stop on the treadmill, running on the treadmill. That is not the case. Focus on getting your nutrition and your daily movements in place before absolutely anything else as well. And of course, same thing with this, you know, if you see a weight loss plateau eventually further down the line, as I mentioned, if your weight doesn't move on average over 7 to 14 days, and let's say you don't really want to decrease your food at the meantime and you'd maybe like to put more time into your output, you'd rather increase your output, then you can potentially look at increasing the step count again. And that's, of course, going to help you burn more calories in a day, creating a further deficit. So that's something else that I'd focus on. Last but not least, step number 5, something that is really important is 2 to 3 resistance sessions per week. So a lot of people worry when it comes down to fat loss, and a lot of people worry that they're going to become manly if they lift weights. No, that is not the case. So what put your muscle on your body there in the first place is what's going to keep it there. You do not want to fall into the mistake of just doing steps and just doing cardio and just eating, of course, within a calorie deficit and not actually moving any weights and lifting any weights, because one thing I'll tell you, you will end up losing weight, not losing body fat. So you'll end up losing fat and muscle. And if you want that tone more defined, look at the end of your deficit, end of your diet, end of your cut. You want to be making sure that you're giving your body a purpose to keep holding a muscle mass. So this is where 2 to 3 resistance training sessions can come into it. So what I'm going to do within the video below, in the description below, I'm actually going to attach a 7-day kickstart course as well, completely free, no questions asked. It's literally going to be in the link of this video, and a full access of essentially helping you work out what your current calories are to get started, and also providing you with a full training plan as well that you can get started with straight away, but also an additional few webinars of exactly how you can eat out and still get into really good shape, and also how you can then manage your reverse diet and stage as well. I'm going to be popping that in the description of this video below, so if you want access to it for completely free, just head down to the description below and it'll be there too. So 2 to 3 resistance training sessions per week. This can be split like 3 full bodies, for example, is a really good one. 3 times full bodies, where you are targeting each muscle group twice. Obviously, same thing, it's going to allow you to hit each muscle group twice across the week, or you can do push, pull, legs is another one, which is perfect. So these are just 2 splits that you can work with between like 2 to 3 sessions per week as well. And something I'd recommend, if you can only get into the gym twice a week, full body is something that I'm currently doing at the moment, would always work well for yourself. So as a little bit of an overview as well, obviously we've got 5 things there that we focus on straight away. Establishing what your why is, understand and get really deep with yourself. Number two, using like a website like calorie.net to figure out and understand what your current calories are and start tracking your food with apps like MyFitnessPal and NutriCheck right away from the off. And from there, monitor what your average weight is for the weekend. If you need to make any prior adjustments, of course, you can feel free, if you're a female, to knock your calories down by 60 to 120. If you're a male, 100 to 200 as well. And of course, on top of that, making sure that we find out what our average steps is and focus on actually doing this on a day-by-day basis. And over a week, go back a little bit there, find out what your average steps are and increase that by 2,000 as your starting point. And on a week by week basis, build them up by 1,000 until you eventually get to a point where you know that your steps are in a really good position. It's not overly consuming your life, but it's something that you can definitely stick to on a week by week basis without getting flustered and without it making you feel like your whole life evolves around that. Last but not least, of course, as I mentioned there, 2 to 3 resistance training sessions per week. Super important. What got the muscle there in the first place needs purpose to stay, and that is going to give the muscle a purpose to stay, and it's massively going to help your end look on your fat loss journey as well. So hopefully this video has helped, and of course, any feedback on this is much appreciated as well. And of course, on top of that, if you'd like any extra additional info on coaching, one-to-one coaching, of course, on myself, obviously I have attached a 7-day free Kickstart course to the bottom. But if you feel like you need a little bit more than that, you feel like you need that extra support, that extra accountability and taking action with this, and you also want someone to take the guesswork away and make sure that all of these things are implemented straight away for yourself on a week by week basis and all adjustments are made for yourself, then you know exactly where I am. All you have to do is message me on social media, message me on email me, drop me a DM with the word coaching, and I'll fire over all the details you need as well. So hopefully this has helped. This is exactly what I would do if I want to go back to the beginning again, and exactly what I'd recommend you do if you're at the beginning of your own weight loss journey. Let's go.